First of all, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a happy holidays and a happy New Year as well, because this is going to be the last Lure Lab that you hear for 2024. And moving forward, 2025 is going to be a big year, but I just want to close out 2024 with just basically my top three techniques and baits from this past season, guiding and tournament fishing, and just sharing what my biggest bass catches were. And I got three ones that you probably will know what they are if you've listened to the Serious Angler Network at all. But as always, I am your host, the Captain Andrew Full, and this is the Lure Lab, a part of the Serious Angler Network. But yeah, 2024, it was a great year. A lot of big fish were caught. Had some good tournament finishes, some big fish in tournaments. Something that I normally don't do very often is catch a real big one in a tournament. I've caught lunkers in derbies once in a blue moon, but to do it, I think I did twice this past summer, and both with very unexpected big ones. So one was a 6 pounder out of a bay that I've never caught one over 5 pounds in my life. And the other one was in the biggest tournament of the year. I caught a smallmouth that was nearly 7 pounds. And I was hoping it was a 7 pounder, and it fell just a bit short. But before we get into my top three baits and techniques, I also want to let you know that we're going to be talking about three baits and techniques that I want to try or get better at in 2025. So hopefully there's a lot of cool stuff coming there. Going to try to increase the social media output, like on Instagram here going forward, with some fish catches and some baits and reels going through 2025, just adjusting the whole flow of things, guiding full-time, social media, etc. And the podcast, it can be a lot at times, especially when you have a family as well. But we're working through it, and we're here to bring you your final episode of 2024. So hope it was a great year for everyone else who is listening. I hope it's a great 2025 for those who are listening, and hope there's a lot of big bass caught for everyone. That being said, before we hop completely into it, if you're new here and you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, leave a comment down below. One, what your best bait of 2024 is or technique, and two, what you want to improve on in 2025, or what you think your best bait or technique will be in the year of 2025. But let's get into it, right? So there are a lot of different techniques out there that are great, and there's big fish techniques and there's little fish techniques, and these are going to be in no particular order, but I wanted to start off with one that I mentioned here a few times, and I didn't bring it up too much because I feel like it's just a sneaky little deal. But the Spro CJ flip became arguably my favorite little flipping jig this year. Over at Omnia, too, forgot to mention at the beginning, all the links are down below to all the baits that we talk about. And as you're seeing this, I believe they are on sale still for $4.99. So make sure you run over there and grab some up. I think I might need to as well. But there are a couple colors that I like to have in the rotation. Obviously, green pumpkin and matte black were my big two. In this chameleon purple, it's like a black and purple green pumpkin. Great colors. I only threw in 3/8 and half ounce. Didn't really mess around with any of the other sizes, but those are typically my two sizes that I'm going to flip with. I'm using an Alpha Angler Zilla, or the Zilla Vader 7.3 medium heavy, 17 or 20 pound fluorocarbon with the Daiwa Zillion SV casting reel in 8-to-1 gear ratio or 7-to-1 gear ratio. 7.1 is going to give you a little bit more winching power if you're flipping like brush piles or trees or laydowns or docks. If I'm out fishing it and just casting it in open water, an 8-to-1 all day. But I like to actually go down in gear ratio when I need to pull them out of heavy cover. But I mentioned at the beginning, I was fishing a tournament with my buddy Steven this past summer, and we were on a bluegill bite, a bluegill spawn bite, and I'm just flipping around a jig, and it so happened to be the Spro CJ flip, and it was the first time I ever used it. But I realized it came through cover really well. It didn't get hung up on metal docks, which is always a plus. And I could throw it in brush piles, drag it on the bottom. It was a very versatile jig, and it even goes through grass really well. And what I would do is I would trim down the skirt to just about where the bend in the hook was, and then I would put on my favorite chunk. In this case, let's see here. What was I using this past summer as a chunk? I got to think. I almost always use a striking rage chunk, but I feel like there was another one. Yeah, it was a striking rage chunk. I had to go back and think on it, but that was what I was catching almost all of my fish on this past summer. The rage chunk kind of tears relatively easily after a fish or two, but I personally think it's arguably the best chunk you can buy. It's got kickers on it, flaps really hard and fast. So that was one of my top 3 baits from 2024. Next one, this one will also be no surprise, a guide full time out on Lake Erie, and it's arguably the most successful smallmouth bait probably to this day. And to everyone's surprise, we're talking about the Berkeley flatworm. And there's a bunch of different ways that you could fish the flatworm. To give you a couple ideas, you can fish it on a drop shot, nose hooked. You can with like an Ichikawa CT5, size 2, 1, 4, whatever your favorite is, or you can thread it with like an owner cover shot in the size 2, real small hook, or you could rig it as a Ned rig on your favorite Ned rig head, or put it on the back of a Beast Coast open water sniper, which I did quite a bit as well. So the flatworm caught me my biggest tournament smallmouth of my life. And not only that, but my personal best. It was just under 7. I believe it was 694 on the scale in the tournament. The Canadian Tire Open just missed that 7-pound mark. This bait has caught more big smallmouth for me than any other bait in the last 6-7 years. If you ask me in 2025, what one of my top baits is going to be, it will probably be the Berkeley flatworm in the 3 3/4 size. Brownback, green pumpkin, black, Gobiashi. They're all staples in the lineup, including white. Just as simple as it is, plug and play, rig it up, throw it out there, you're going to catch a fish. If you want to take somebody smallmouth fishing or even largemouth fishing for the first time, if you put a Berkeley flatworm in their hand or any Berkeley Powerbait Max Set product, they're more than likely going to catch a fish. So, just one of those things that I feel like every angler needs to have in their tackle box, not only in the past, but going in the future. I don't see fish going away from biting the Berkeley power bait flatworm. So make sure you add them to your cart if you haven't used them yet, and put a bunch of bass in the boat for yourself. Don't sleep on the flatworm no more, even though it's not really slept on. It's no secret. Everyone knows they catch fish. All right. For the third top bait of 2024, it's going to be the jig head minnow. And there's a couple specific baits that were really well for it. So it's not even so much a bait, it's a technique. It's something that is highly debatable technique, right? Everyone's either happy about it or really mad about it. You're seeing limitations on the pro circuits, limiting how many graphs people can use, if they can use them for a full tournament or not even use them at all. So I'm kind of excited to see where that goes in 2025 based on watching all of the tournament scene. But probably my favorite bait that came out in 2024 for the the jig head minnow technique, and there's some good ones like a depth Sakamata shad, but this guy here, and this might be a surprise to some people, but this one here became a niche bait in my gear, specifically this color, the Cast Fishing Echo 3.5 in Ozark. Specifically the 3.5 inch size. They make a 5.4 as well. It's a sneaky little bait. It has a tungsten rattle chamber, not tungsten. It has a rattle chamber in the bottom of the bait. You can see it in the photo right here. You can even take that out and put some scent in it if you like. Extremely durable plastic, but it has a ton of lifelike motion. If you put them in your hand, you'll see what I'm talking about. I caught my biggest smallmouth in not a tournament this year on the Cast Fishing Echo on a jig head minnow. I'm a big fan of the Kitech heads and the Queen Tackle live sonar heads. And I like matte when it's cloudy, which is the Kitech, and I like the shiny ones Queen when it's sunny. So, and just it's a light thing, it's a confidence thing for me. Both are great though. But anyways, lightweights 3/32, maybe 2 1/8 or 3/16, sometimes a quarter. But the goal with this bait is to stroll it or hover it over top of the fish and make them come up and bite it. If you're fishing it in their face, you're more than likely not going to get them to come bite it because that is not a natural presentation for fish to chase after. So fish it above their heads, make them come get it. Ozark blueback herring, great Cast Echo colors. Now, some honorable mentions that I do like with with the jig head minnow is going to be obviously the depth Sakamata shad, but Big Bite Baits in the Sensation line, they have a pretty good little minnow as well that I was able to catch some good key fish in a couple derbies this year. So let me find it here. I don't even know if it's in the Sensation line. Got to find it on Omnia real fast. I apologize for the delay here. I can't remember what it was called. Not the jerk minnow. It was. Oh, it might have been the Sensation minnow. It is not that. But anyways, I can't find it on here. I know they have it because I bought it from there. Oh, here it is. It is the Big Bite Baits jerk minnow in the color that I really, really like, especially when it was sunny and super clear water, is this stealth Pinkasagi. And for whatever reason, it just got bit on days when they wouldn't want to bite anything else. So a little bit of an honorable mention there for those who are curious on what some of my favorite jig head minnow baits are. So setups. I forgot to mention my setups for the drop shot. It would be the Alpha Angler DSR or the spy bait rod, which I've talked glowingly about in the past. But also, I got a chance to fish in Abu Garcia Xenon this year, which I won with that giant, almost 7-pounder I caught in a tournament. I won a Xenon combo, 7-foot medium, fast action. And I'll tell you what, that's a pretty bad dude for drop shot fishing. So if you're into that upper end rod, it's super light. I haven't had any durability issues with it yet. I've boat flipped a couple 3.5, 4-pounders with it. Don't do that. Don't be dumb like me because I'm really rough on my equipment at times, but super light, super sensitive, and you can feel just about everything on the bottom with that rod. So it's definitely one in that higher rod price point that you may want to check out. If you don't want to do that, definitely check out some Alpha Angler rods. They're incredible. Jig head minnow, same thing. It's Alpha Angler DSR, using a size 3000 Tatula MQ LT in usually 8 or 10-pound braid. There's a bunch of really good ones on the market. I've used just about all of them. And then fluorocarbon, probably like a Daiwa Samurai is one of my favorite fluorocarbons for both of those techniques. So what do I want to work on in 2025? That's the hard one because I feel like being on the water all the time, I get the chance to play with a lot of techniques. And as I was drawing up the outline for this episode, I was like, what are the 3 techniques that I've caught big fish on that I feel like I could get a lot better with? Pardon me. And the first one is an oldie but a goodie. I want to get back to throwing a spinnerbait more if I'm in current situations or covering water. I feel like everyone today is throwing a chatterbait, and there's a lot of them on the market. And if you look at people's boat decks, there's a good chance you're not going to see a spinnerbait. And I've caught a lot of really memorable big fish chucking and winding a spinnerbait around. The next one, pardon me, I just developed a tickle in my throat. The next one is going to be the free rig. We had an awesome episode a couple months back with Sakai Ushio, one of the probably winningest co-anglers ever in the open circuits. And the free rig, I've been able to dabble with it and caught some really big fish with it, but he caught one on my boat a week after I caught that 7, and he almost got a 7. I believe it was a 698. So 2 almost 7-pounders in my boat in a 100-yard stretch of water on Lake Erie out of Buffalo in 1 week was pretty magical. And I dumped one at the boat before he caught his that might have been just as big. But yeah, free rig. There's a bunch of cool baits. I wish Berkeley Mac Scent would bring back the critter hog, I believe it is. Yeah, the critter hog, not the creature hog, but the critter hog. It's probably my favorite free rig bait. I have about 8 packs left, and they're getting really hard to find. And it's a shame because that thing just catches them on the free rig. And then the third one that I think that I would like to get better at and do more is throwing bigger glide baits and paddle-tailed swim baits. I've caught some fish on the Berkeley call shad and the 6-inch mag draft, but I want to start messing around with the 8 and 10-inch mag drafts and call shads, and maybe throw a little Nessie around or GrowWorks design baits if I can get my hands on some, and just learning how to throw like the 8 to 10-inch swim baits, glide baits. I have some clashes here now in my basement that I look forward to playing with. More KGB Chad shads. I got a couple fish on Chad shads over this past summer around docks and around laydowns. That was really exciting to watch fish come out in the drawing power to make them just flare their gills and come unglued on a glide bait is cool. Scottsboro also makes a pretty good glide bait that I was able to throw this past summer and have some success with. So 2024 was awesome in closing, right? 2025 is set up to be even better. Hopefully we can break that 7-pound mark. It seems like every year that's my goal. And this year I almost scratched it. And the desire to put an even bigger one in the boat just becomes stronger. And I can't wait to try to break that 7-pound mark. It can be done. There's plenty of them out there. We just have to put our bait in front of the right fish on the right day, and hopefully it comes to fruition. It's bound to happen. But anyways, if you're listening and watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're new here to the Lure Lab, we greatly appreciate everyone who tunes in on a weekly basis. Y'all rock. If you're listening on your favorite podcast or MP3 platform, please leave a review if it allows you to do so. Allows the Lure Lab and the Serious Angler Network to be seen by more people who love bass fishing. So we greatly appreciate you there. And we'll see you all in 2025. Thanks for tuning in to every episode here. We appreciate it, and we'll see you soon.